Welcome to the Sunrise Safari. My name is Brent Leo Smith. I've got Tabs on camera. We have Kirsty and Lou in final control. And we have Hayden and Andrew out in the other vehicle, and Scott and John Ray on foot. So quite excited. First time I've ever had a drive with HT, so very exciting. And we've got a lovely male giraffe to start the morning. There we go. Nice big adult bull giraffe. Keeping an eye on us. It's a balmy 73 Fahrenheit this morning, 23 degrees Celsius. There is some cloud cover, but it's rolling quite quickly, and hopefully it dissipates before too long. You can see quite a few oxpeckers. You can actually hear them on the right-hand side of his body. You can see red-billed oxpeckers gleaning for ectoparasites. Oh. Oh, he's going to walk right up in front of us. I'm not stopping to feed at the moment. Maybe looking for ladies. And remember, you can also send us questions. And you can do that by using the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, or send us an email, questions@wildearth.tv. So while the morning's fresh and early, we're going to let that giraffe meander on. There were some lions calling in the south early this morning, and we're going to go check the southern boundary to see if they're here. Other than that, we've got a tracking team out as well. Jamie's out with Bright and Jeff in search of all big cat tracks. I think they're going to go look for where Tingana was last night. And we might go give them a hand as well. So we are right in them, or actually towards the end of Big Cat Week, and we've had some incredible sightings, but definitely the most exciting was Tingana last night, hunting baby warthogs. He went right down a hole, we couldn't even see him, and he managed to come out with a little piglet. So while all the babies are around, baby warthog, baby impala, it is a bit of a time of plenty for the leopards. And isn't that amazing? He actually went underground to get his dinner. A mining leopard, as Graham Wellington shouted while it was happening yesterday. Very, very unusual and unique behavior. Now, lions do quite often mine for warthog and actually dig out their holes. I've only ever seen leopard do it once to dig. But that's definitely the first I've heard about a leopard in the Sabi Sands going underground for dinner. So we're going to continue south, see what's happening on the boundary, and while we do that, let's go check in with HT.
Good morning, everyone. I'm just reversing up here. We're not going backwards. Well, we are going backwards, but I promise you we're going to be going forwards. I just looked at that beautiful view over there, which I'll talk to you, give you a little vision of now. Gorgeous. We'd love you to interact with us at hashtag Safari Live or questions@wildearth.tv. Fantastic to have you on board. If you're a first-timer, you've just gotten on the biggest safari vehicle on the planet, and if you're a regular guest, welcome back. It's great to have you with us. Very, very beautiful temperature this morning, so we've for temperature this morning, so we've got a good chance of cats staying out a little bit longer because of it's not as hot like yesterday was really, really wild. But how was that footage last night? If you were with us last night, our last night, maybe your morning or wherever you were in the world, my goodness, that leopard with Peter was just astounding, and the hyena with Jamie, and the elephant. Oh, it was a stunning day. And we're coming to the final few days of Big Cat Week on Nat Geo Wild, on TV and online. And remember that this continues. If you haven't been with us before, this continues every morning and every afternoon, 365 days a year, with an incredible team of people. I have to shoot off back to the UK, but I'll be back at some point. But it's just great to have you here. Now, yesterday was one of my most fantastic drives. I talked to the guys afterwards. When I mean that, the most enjoyable drives I've had in a long time. And it wasn't necessarily that we had loads and loads of different animals. We did have some beautiful stuff. We had hyena, incredible interaction, and we're going to head to the den shortly. But you know what it was for me? It was the interaction, the stories, the questions we had from particularly kids around the world. Now, if you're in a classroom right now, or your teacher's watching, you might be having a break, the teacher might, wherever you are, whatever's going on, and you've got an opportunity to contact us, we would love to hear from you. I've got this little unofficial thing that I've done this week and last called Operation Wild Child. And the reason for that is that I think that this is a great platform for us to connect kids with wildlife, not just in Africa where we are, but hopefully it'll stimulate you to get outside your classroom, get outside your house, go and investigate a little bit of woodland, of course with a parent or someone safe that you trust to get out there, investigate, turn over some logs. Obviously do it carefully, but make sure that you get out and explore. That's what I really want to do with Operation Wild Child. So if you've got any questions this morning, we'd love to answer them. We've got Andrew Francis, Drone Commander Andrew Francis on camera with me this morning, which is always a great pleasure. And Brent, we've got the walkout, we've got Kirsty and the team in FC and Final Control. I'm really excited to be with you guys. Get some questions to us. We're going to drive on, see what we can see. Welcome aboard. So we're just going along a road that we were looking for those giraffes yesterday. They would have moved on, but it's a lovely little area. We're going up to a place called Impala Plains, where, hence the name, we normally see impala there, and I'm just, it's just such a lovely thing to see these impala lambs all in their little creches, in their little natal groups, and we're hopefully going to see some of them this morning. The lambs are definitely dropping. The wildebeest will be next. I haven't seen a baby yet. We thought we might have seen one yesterday, but always great to see them as well. And how cool is that hyena cub? My goodness. What a beautiful little creature he is. Charlie, welcome aboard. Thanks for being the first question this morning. And your question is, would an African rock python, and down this part of the world they're known as a southern African python. It's the same species. Well, there might be a little subspecies, but scientists are still working that out. But your question is whether a rock python would take an impala, and the answer to that is absolutely. If it was small enough impala. And it depends on the size of the snake. The snake normally take prey relative to their body size. So if it was a smaller impala, it probably would. If it was a big rock python, it could potentially take a young adult impala. I've seen a rock python with a duiker, which is an antelope about the size of a young impala inside it, like that animal right there. I don't know if you can get it, Andrew. It might stop. That's a duiker. My goodness, how funny is that? I'll just see if we can get a little shot of that. Just as I said duiker, a duiker ran across the road. There he is. They don't stick around for very long, folks. Just through there, Andrew. You got him, mate? Just... yeah, I'll just move forward for you a little bit. No, he's scooted off. Oh no, he's still there. Go the other side of this tree and just up in there. That's it, you got him. He might stop. He might look around at us again. That's a duiker. Very rarely do you see these guys stop for this long. They normally run through. The word duiker is D-U-I-K-E-R, and it is Afrikaans for diver. And that's exactly what they do when they... There he is. Isn't he beautiful? I think it's a little male. I can't quite see if he's got horns. I'm just trying to get a peek. Yes, it's a little male. So we don't see those very often. You can just see him moving through there very slowly. How cool is that? So that's the size animal. It's not very often that you can give an example of an animal that a rock python could take. Sorry. Not often you can do that. He just jumped across the road. He dived across the road, exactly what his name explains. So that's pretty cool. First little animal. They don't normally stop. They normally scoot off into the vegetation. Great question, Charlie. Thanks, buddy. I think the name is Mans. I just have to check with control. I'm sorry, control. I missed that again. Oh, Mandy. I do apologise. Mandy, welcome aboard. I'm sorry. I was just putting here over the old Jigger's engine. Mandy, great to have you on board. Your question is, do giraffe live alone or in herds? They normally live in very loose herds. They're not like wildebeest or zebra that stick close together. Because of their height, they can actually spend more time browsing, which is what a giraffe does. Of course, it's not a grazing animal, it's a browsing animal, eating the vegetation off the tree line. They've exploited a very, very beautiful little niche, and the only real competition they have in that niche is elephant. But they spend time in loose herds. They fragment, they'll move across the different herds. You will get solitary bulls happen quite frequently, and you might see a lone bull, and he might spend the later years of his life on his lonesome. Not very often. They end up bumping into each other. The males will then join together and hit their heads and necks together and do a bit of dominancy to try and fight for mating rights over the herd. But normally they live in loose herds, Mandy, and a lovely big buffalo just here. I'm just going to show you something, guys, because this is quite interesting. This is, I don't know if I can get you through there, Andrew, is that? Maybe just through that bit there. It's not a very good shot, is it? Not for Andrew. There's two buffalo here, folks. They're just lying down ruminating, and I want to show you because there's another one just here, Andrew. Maybe we can get a better shot of him. Is that okay, mate? Now, these two are sitting down doing something called ruminating, and that means that they're redigesting or chewing something called a cud. They've got a several-chambered stomach. I think we've talked about it in the tent several times when we've looked at dung and poop, which is always very interesting to see how an animal, or efficient an animal's feeding system is, or digestive system. And you can see just how he's chewing that. Now, what he's done is he's swallowed some food, and it goes into the first chamber of his stomach called the rumen, and then he's regurgitated it up and is chewing it over again, and it breaks down the plant matter, or the grass that he's eaten, very, very finely, and allows them to digest it even better. So these animals fall into a group called ruminants, which is giraffes, what we're just talking about, buffalo, all the antelope, and they're very efficient, very successful group of animals. And where they are sitting right now is one of the reasons why they're classified as a very, very dangerous animal to walk upon, because you can see they're lying down in these thickets, and they can lie down, and I've been in some parts of Zimbabwe where very long elephant grass, and they'll sort of lie down in the cool doing exactly what they're doing now, and they don't see you and you don't see them, and you walk onto them and that's when it can be a little bit tricky. You've just got to be a faster runner than your cameraman. Oh, sorry, Andrew. Sorry, I didn't mean that really rudely. And another question coming. Paul, you've got a very interesting question about taste buds on their tongue. I can't say that I can answer this with great authority, but I do know that they definitely prefer things. I would imagine the taste buds on an animal's tongue would differ in different species, but they definitely have more palatable plants that they prefer. Elephant are a classic example of that. They will browse and graze, and they'll take a bit of grass, they'll take a bit of foliage from a particular type of tree, and then go for some bark. So they definitely do have a preference, and I would imagine that comes down to their taste buds and their needs. So I'm probably going to have to look that up for you a little bit, Paul, but that's what I would imagine they do, because animals, they don't just go and eat anything that you put in front of them, that's for sure. They go along different vegetation lines, and you see them savouring or favouring particular species. A lot of plants in the bush have something in the leaves called tannins. It's a very astringent tasting defence mechanism that makes some of the things very unpalatable. And a lot of the trees and shrubs that we have here will produce tannins, even increase their tannin level if our plants browse upon them if animals browse upon them too much. So they'll increase their tannin as a defence mechanism. So great question, Paul, and I'll look that up a little bit further. I've got one more drive tomorrow morning, and if you're watching, please try and tweet in again, and I'll come back to you on that, matey. Thanks for your question, buddy. Right, so we've come up onto our Impala Plains, and here's me banging on about seeing baby Impala, and there's none here. So we're going to carry along down to Sandy Patch, and sorry guys, I just saw some tracks, nice tracks here. Whilst we're looking at these tracks, there's a couple of tracks just here. We'll figure out who they are and what they are. Let's cross over to Brent for an update, and we'll come back to you. Thanks for being here. Great to see you.
So, welcome back. We're checking the southern boundary really carefully. For those of you who new, you might notice my head hanging off the side of the car, and that's so I can see if any fresh footprints. And normally we're looking for predator footprints: lion, leopard, wild dog, cheetah. Sort of reading the morning newspaper, figuring who's in, who's out, who's hot, who's not. At the moment, not so hot. I had a sneaking suspicion that those lions were further south of our boundary, and it seems like they are, but we still got a section to check. And the wonderful thing about the bush is it can change every minute. You never know, a leopard might walk in. Wild dogs might come charging from somewhere. I feel we due a bit of wild dog luck. We haven't seen the dogs for a few days. Over a while, I think. Really big sort of thoroughfare zone here between the two properties. Of course, animals don't adhere to our man-made boundaries, and that's the wonderful thing about being part of this incredibly massive open area that's dedicated to wildlife. very important to check the junctions of roads. Animals often use roads as highways, and a lot of the roads are built on original big, large elephant paths. In search of predators, we've got a wonderful question from Anthony, who asked, will a predator ever kill something and not eat it? Anthony, it does happen. It's very rare, and strange enough, particularly with two species. Very strange. Lions often will kill a waterbuck and not eat it. A lot of people think it's because they're really oily glands on their neck that give them that sort of waxy overcoating, that waterproofing. And bush pig. Very, very strange. And I found bush pig carcasses that have been killed by lion and nothing's fed on them. I also think it depends how hungry. I think if they are hungry enough, they will always feed on it. But it is unusual for an animal to kill something and not feed on it. Chatting about hunting, we've got a question from Zephyr, bro, who I presume is a surfer. If so, I hope you find some waves today. Zephyr, bro, would like to know, in desperate times, would lions ever go for something as big as a hippo or other large prey? Most definitely, and there's also prides of lions that specialize in large animals. There's famous prides of lions up in northern Botswana that specialize in elephants, and that's very unusual behavior. And I believe it's a lot to do with the amount of elephants in that area, and went through a stage when the Savuti marsh was dry and it's got water in it again. So a lot of your migratory species like zebra and wildebeest that have lots of local migrations in and out of an area moved and didn't come back, so they were stuck with this huge amount of elephants and basically slowly learned how to hunt those elephants. But in this area, hippo, buffalo, giraffe are often hunted, specifically by the male coalitions, and the females hunt buffalo regularly. But a hippo is a much bigger challenge. And it is spectacular to see when it does happen. So we've got a bit of a spot on the lens we're going to try and take care of you now. While we do that, I'm going to idle up to the most numerous antelope in Africa south of the Sahara. There we go. Nice little male impala. It's always good to just stop and listen every now and then. See if we hear any alarm calls or vocalizations. But let's move along. We are causing a traffic jam at the moment. This boundary road is one of the main access roads in and out of the reserve. Hello, boys. And while we're meandering, looking for tracks of lions and leopards, there's a couple of characters that we see regularly here, and one of them is the Nkahuma pride, and they've got that wonderful young male that has been nicknamed Junior. And Sarah, who's in Ohio, would like to know, have there been any updates about them? Sarah, they haven't. They seem to have almost disappeared off the face of the earth. They were the last tracks I had were across the entire Thuza, and we haven't seen anything since. So fascinating to find out where they are and where they might pop out. With the Birmingham boys spending a bit more time in this general area, it's likely that they are going to try to stay on the peripheries and keep away from that marauding those marauding males while they still have a young male with them. Junior has made some forays or been pushed far away from his pride before. I know he was seen by himself in the Sand River, which is a long way from here. But he is at that age where he should be coming nomadic away from the pride. So we've been trying to find tracks, and Angela's wondering, how do we track when we're driving fast? With great difficulty, Angela, unfortunately. And your eyes get trained like any other muscle. So your eyes pick up on stuff that you wouldn't normally see. So even when you come to the bush for the first time, you'll notice people sit on the back of the vehicle. They can't even see the impala. That's blatantly obvious to others. But by the end of that week that they're in the bush, they start spotting stuff, and your eyes sort of learn to pick up things that look a little bit different. And the same thing happens with tracks. So if you want to track carefully, though, you don't really want to go too fast. I mean, this is a good speed. We're not moving too quickly. Any little mark that I can see sort of small enough to be a lion or leopard track, I can just sort of lean my head over, double check. The majority of the tracks we see are hyena because they wander far and wide through this area in search of food. This is an interesting question, and I'm actually going to play a little game with you guys. I'm going to throw it back at you. Ricky would like to know how many different types of animals are in the park. So let's see if you guys can come up with a list of how many different species of animals. Don't put all the names, just give us a number, and we'll see if your number coincides with mine. And let's leave out the little ones like the mice and geckos and things. So let's keep it to mammals for now. So how many different species of mammals do we have in the Sabi Sands? And you can send your answers through to questions@wildearth.tv or use the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. We're about to enter Arathusa. I'm sure those lions are just in here somewhere, but unfortunately out of our traverse area. It's one of those strange mornings, you're not sure whether the cloud's going to set in or it's going to clear out. There's gaps, there's a bit of light coming through, but it does seem to be moving quite quickly in from the east. While we continue our search for big cats and everything else, let's go see what HT's up to.
So we've just come along Sandy Patch Road, which is one of my favourite roads to see young impala. There was a couple they scooted off with their mums. They're not quite confident enough to bring them out. Only sort of a day old. A little bit of a roadblock. Elephants have immense strength. This is only a small tree for an elephant to push down, but an elephant has pushed this down, and if Andrew goes up to the top of the tree, you can see what they were after. They were after the tender young shoots, the more tender leaves and so on, and they've just eaten all of those off, and they've just left the rest. So some people find that destructive, but you know what? Elephants play a major role in opening up areas as well. They will open up areas and another species will move into that niche, whether it was a very wooded area, they'll end up opening up an area, making into more of a little open woodland or maybe a savanna type area. So it all fits in, there's no doubt about it. It's just makes for coming around the corner a little bit tricky when you have that across the road, and I don't think I can pull that out, so I'll just mention that. We'll get a tractor up here to sort that out. But I'm on my way to the hyena den just to see if those guys are out, because we've had such incredible times there with that cub and that beautiful mother. And I like to try, and I'm just watching the aerial there, I like to try, as everyone does in our team, fly the flag for hyena, because they're such incredible animals and beautiful creatures, and to try and debunk or get rid of this crazy thought of these scavenging, skulking, evil creatures that a lot of people used to think they were. They're fascinating creatures and incredibly important. Do you know what? A lot of people don't realise it, but they are second down the food chain from lion. So it sort of goes lion, hyena, leopard, and then well, wild dog are up there as well, but leopard and cheetah in the cats, and then wild dog fit in there as well, sort of around the leopard area. But depends on the numbers with wild dog and hyena. It's just a numbers game. If there's more hyena than there are wild dog, the hyena will overpower the wild dog. But the other way around, you can see hyena at speed trying to escape. It's a very interesting area. I've had some beautiful wild dog interaction here over the past year. Wow, we've got our first Operation Wild Child. Hayden Turner reporting for duty. Gord, welcome aboard, buddy. You're watching with your mum, which is brilliant. Hats off to you, mum, for watching Safari Live. And your question is, what's the biggest tortoise I've ever seen? Well, you know what? The biggest tortoise I've ever seen was a leopard tortoise, and he was about this big. Okay, and Gord, if I had a shell here, I could show you, but there's a little tiny ridge in each of they're called scoots. There's a little pattern or a little sort of shape on an elephant's shell, and you can tell how old a tortoise is roughly, just like you can tell. Mum might be able to show you a picture where you see if a tree has fallen down or a tree's been cut down for timber, there's little rings inside that tree, and it tells you how old the tree is. It's a little bit like that with a tortoise. We don't have to cut the tortoise, of course. We just look at the little rings on the outside of its shell on each little section. But Gord, that's the biggest tortoise I've seen here, leopard tortoise. But up in Zanzibar and even in the Galapagos Islands off the coast of Africa, I've seen tortoises. There's a tortoise called an Aldabran tortoise and another one called a Galapagos tortoise. And Gord, I've seen like this round. I'm talking, well, let me show you on the camera. This round, watch my hands, bigger, 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 bigger. Ones that have been as big as the bonnet on the car, maybe from here to the other end. Massive. The oldest creatures in the world. They really are. They get up to ages over 100 years old. Very, very beautiful, big, big, tall creatures, but they're land tortoises as well, like the ones we get here. Fantastic question, Gord. Great to have you on board, buddy. Operation Wild Child. We have deployed our first infantryman. Right, let's get going up here and see if we can find those beautiful hyena. Very pleasant temperature. Corbin, welcome aboard, buddy. Great to have your question. And you're only 3 years old. Oh my goodness, you might be my youngest wild child yet. That is so cool to have you on board, buddy. Corbin, you're asking, is a buffalo, the ones that we saw back there, like a cow? And the answer to that is absolutely. It's a wild cow. Just like in the North America, I'm not sure where you are, Corbin, but in North America there's a bison, or sometimes referred to as a buffalo as well. In Asia, on the other side of the world, there's another buffalo. There's a lot of wild cattle in the world, but that's what a buffalo is. It's in the same family. So a domestic cow is like the cousin of a buffalo, and they're pretty much exactly the same, just look a little bit different on the outside, Corbin. Great question, mate. Thanks for being on board with us, buddy. Is it this road? No, it's the next one, isn't it? Sometimes I get mixed up with my roads around here, because I spend a bit of time in the tent these days doing our safari tent, and I just have to get my bearings. This is the road I want. We had a lovely question yesterday from Alyssa, who was 15. And Alyssa, you've stuck in my mind, buddy, so much with your question. You really, really touched me with that question. It was about whether girls can do the job that we're doing here. And I said to you, I gave you my answer yesterday, Alyssa. If you're watching, love to hear from you again, matey. But my answer was absolutely 100% yes. And if there's any girls watching of any age and you think that you want to do something like this, you can do this without a problem. This is a job for men and women. And if you want a role model, I'll tell you who the role model is. It's Jamie, one of our guides here. And if you get a chance to go, I've got to drive with Jamie tomorrow morning, and she is absolutely unbelievable. So if you want to role model girls and you want to aspire to do this, talk to Jamie on Twitter or on email. Remember, it's hashtag Safari Live or questions@wildearth.tv. And if you haven't got your own Twitter account or your own email, and you're in an age where you might have to ask mum or dad to do that for you, and you can definitely ask Jamie questions tomorrow. She would love it, because we are really going out with Operation Wild Child tomorrow as well. So remember, girls, you've got to get out there and do this as well. This is such a great job, and I'd love to see more of you, that's for sure. She's incredible, Jamie. So fantastic to listen to, and so much knowledge. She loves hyena as well. So I'm sure tomorrow morning I'm going to let her come to the hyena den, because she just loves them. But just make sure I don't miss the turn to the hyena den here. I think it's just around the corner here. Andrew. It's been such a fantastic week, folks, on Big Cat Week, and doing the morning drives and being in the tent in the afternoons and just watching. I get to watch the whole show, and it's the first time in the last year that I've actually sat down and watched the whole show with all the different feeds and what's going on. It's been a great privilege. I love being in the vehicle, but the tent also is a really interesting place to be. See the program exactly as you would be seeing it, and experiencing it firsthand like it is on the TV or on your computer, and it is so exciting. So exciting. We've had a great week. Matthew, you've got a fantastic question I'm going to come to. I'm just going to tell you what's in the picture at the moment before he walks off. And Matthew, I promise you, you're age 9. I'm coming to your question, buddy, any second. Just want to stop here to give you a look at one of the most beautiful antelope, I think, in the African bush. The regal, very stylish, nearly. I know that's not really a word that you apply to animals, but they've got style, these guys. Look at that. This is a kudu bull. How beautiful is that? And those stripes down the side there, individual markings that every single animal has a different stripe pattern down the side. And as you can see, he just disappeared into that vegetation. I can still see him. We're going to go up a little bit closer. Just disappeared into that vegetation. He's the same colour as that vegetation, and that little stripe pattern breaks his body shape up. Beautiful. We'll go and see him just now. Matthew, your question was Tingana last night. It's a very good question. We discussed it ourselves, Matthew. whether Tingana would wait at that burrow for more. Now, Tingana's got a reputation for doing exactly that. He will sit by a burrow. Some people have seen him sit for like nearly 24 hours to wait for, or 12 hours to wait for the morning until the warthogs were pushed to come out. Now, warthogs, Matthew, are what's called a diurnal or a daytime animal, and they go into those burrows at night for safety, and then they come out in the day. That's what was astonishing about Tingana last night, when he went down into that burrow. And your question is, would he go back down if there was more piglets? And the answer to that is absolutely. Peter said that he stayed with him a little bit longer after we closed the show, and he did walk off into the night. So whether there wasn't more down there or he just had his fill and was going for something a bit bigger, because a warthog's really just like a little snack for him, and he maybe have gone on to something else. But I think Brent went over to check that out and follow that up. But great question, Matthew. Really good thinking there, buddy. You're thinking about what the animal's going to do next, not just the instance that we were in. You're thinking about the future of the animal and what the behaviour of the animal, and that's the key to success when watching animals, buddy. Super question, big fella. Let's go and see if we can find this beautiful kudu. Gracie, welcome aboard, buddy. I think you are the Gracie that I've talked to, and many of us have talked to her before, and I hope it is, bud. And if it's not, it's great to have you on board too, Gracie. We don't know sometimes because we get lots of different people, sometimes with beautiful names like Gracie as well. Gracie, your question is, would the mother of the piglet miss her baby? Well, I'm sure she would, maybe a little bit, that's for sure. We've got this kudu just here, but Gracie, what they do is, it's a little bit sad, that's for sure, and it's sometimes hard to watch for us. But do you know what, Gracie? I have to say to you, buddy, the way that the bush works is that everything lives off another thing. You know, it's what's called, and you've probably done this maybe in studying or at school, and it's called, hang on, I can hear it. Can I hear it? I can hear you saying it. It's got links like this. It's called food. That's it. You said it, buddy. Food chain. That's exactly what it is. It's a food chain. And at the top of the food chain are the predators. You know, the lion, the leopard, the hyena, the cat, the wild dog, and lots of other animals. And then it works its way down. So those animals have to live as well. They have babies. The hyena cub as well. Its mother has to eat. So sometimes it's a little bit hard to watch, Gracie. And yes, she might be a little bit sort of like sad like we are, but she'll get over that, and she'll have more piglets, and she'll probably be smarter next time. She might dig the burrow a little bit deeper or something like that. But great question, Gracie, and I'm sure she'll be okay, and she might have other piglets down there that survived. But fantastic question, and great to have you on board. Oh, let's go across to Brent. He's got a fantastic little creature that we don't see a lot of, and we'll come back to you when we're at the hyena.
So we've come across a little scrub here, busy grooming himself after a night out on the town, so to speak. And when you look at that, look between his ears, there's some big ticks. And those ticks between his ears, I'm afraid he's not going to be able to get to. Two big ones, those big grey ticks. Eventually, when they're absolutely, completely stuffed to the brim with blood, they'll just drop off and go lay their eggs. Really nice to see a little guy so relaxed. Quite often they run away. Oh, itchy, itchy. And you see that little white fluffy tail? When in distress, it's popped up as a sort of sign to everyone when it's running that there's danger around. You see how carefully they move through the bush. And he's disappearing a little bit. We're going to try to roll forward a slight bit to get another view of him. Let's have a look. Oh, I've got a good one here. Let's just go forward a slight bit. go. You can see him there. So this is the only Legomorph we get in this area. Legomorph is a term for the family rabbits and hares. Although they look very similar, they are quite different. Hares are precocial, and what that means, their babies are born as miniature versions of the adults, able to run within minutes of birth. Where rabbits, babies are born in a den called a warren, and they're born blind and hairless and need quite a bit of time in that den before they are able to venture out into the world. So a lot of prey species out in the bush are born precocial, so they can run within minutes of birth to try to escape all the predators. Having a serious grooming session. Now, one of the things that a lot of people find possibly a little bit gross about hares, but it's a very, very unique sort of survival system, is that when they defecate, they will re-eat their dung up to 6 times to get all the nutrients out. So they're not a ruminant. They can bring it up and chew and chew and chew and chew the cud. So they go one step further. They wait until they've done their business, then they eat it again. And that's what gives a hare's dung a very, very light coloring. I will definitely try see if I can find you some hare dung today. And so when you find hare dung, you know it's been eaten multiple times to get all the nutrients. And so the starches and the grasses that it eats are almost all gone. So if you look at impala dung, which is almost black from the starch, you'll find a hare dung which is sort of completely devoid of that color. And obviously as a hare, you have to be on your game because everything tries to eat you. From a lion to most of the big predatory birds. Just listening carefully as well. Always good to sit quietly for a bit and see what's out there. Got quite a few woodlands kingfishers calling. And preening using its teeth. So in most traditional African stories, through the majority of cultures, scrub hare is known as the trickster. Played tricks on all the big animals, lion, leopard, elephant. That's why he runs so fast. He's played so many tricks that everyone's out to get him. And you can see very big eyes, as quite a lot of nocturnal species have, and those long ears to catch all the sound around him. Seems to be listening to me quite intently at the moment, but no, he's decided I'm not that interesting and I don't pose a threat, so time to carry on grooming. Oh, look at that. He's possibly trying to get to those ticks, and they're just too high. Oh, there we go. Is he going to get it? No, too high up on the ear. And so during the day, he's going to move into a spot like he is there in a thicket, find a little base of a tree and snuggle up. And he'll flatten his ears against his body because you can see that pink might stand out a bit. And he blends perfectly. You can see how his coat would fit in with the surrounding bush, and he'll just keep very, very still for the day as a defense mechanism against predators. And speaking of predators, and one of the things we always listen for out here is alarm calls. And Anthony is wondering, is alarm calls sort of like a universal language in the bush? I think, Anthony, that's a very good way of describing it. It is most definitely. So when an impala starts snorting, he's snorting. All the other animals like kudu and stuff will take heed of it. But I think the best description can be made with a baboon. So speaking of predators, I will tell you the baboon story a little bit later, but we're going to move on and see if we can find any sign of predators, and we're going to leave this little guy, to go find a spot to sleep, and we're going to go to HT, who's with definitely the cutest addition to the Juma family.
Well, 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 look at this. How beautiful. We've just came over to the hyena den, and we've got our little terrific trio here. Mum, our 6-month-old cub, and our little friend. He's a fantastic little cub, and he's becoming really, really adventurous and quite confident. He's come down to the bottom of the hill, and all the team were talking about it. Look at this guy. He's come right up to the front of my vehicle here. Can't even see the young 6-year-old now. He's coming right round the side of my vehicle. He's just beyond the front of the vehicle, having a good old sniff. Beautiful condition, this 6-month-old cub. And then our little friend, our little character. He's got a piece of elephant dung there, which just seems to be a bit of a play toy. They've been rolling around in it and using it and playing with it like a ball. It's quite incredible to see. And all of these things, as Jamie was saying yesterday, is so important for the developing their bones and their muscles and their ability to sort of interpret things in their surroundings. You should have seen when we turned up earlier, just our scent. They all put their noses in the air and all had a bit of a big sniff of us, and it's just great to see the interaction. The youngsters have gone on the other side, and this is Mum we're looking at right now. And here comes the 6-month-old, and here's the baby at the top, just to the right of screen there. He is such an adorable little creature. It's such a beautiful place. It's just give you a little bit of background of where we are. It's a termite mound that it would have been excavated more than likely by an aardvark, and then potentially used by warthog or a myriad of other creatures. But then hyena will come into a den, site like this, and excavate a little bit more. The mother will go down and have her cubs in that den, and eventually, it gets to it gets to a point where the dens, they have several dens that they'll use over a period of time, and sometimes they become infested with parasites, but they eventually move on to another den and then come back to different dens. So we've got several dens on the reserve that we know they use. I've got a question from Sharon in Pittsburgh. Sharon, welcome aboard. Great to have you with us. And your question's a really interesting one about whether the mother has to worry about other females taking over the highest rank or the matriarchal rank. It would definitely have to happen at some point, but it's not like lion when, you know, a male lion will come in and dispose of, for want of a better word, or kill all the cubs. There will be it's a very, very intricate system they have, or social system. So, you know, she is the highest ranking female at this point. She has control over this den site. She would be very protective. Males always take the back seat. So if there was other females that were lower ranking to her and supported her, they would protect her as well from most situations that occurred when it came to a dominancy type of situation. But you know what, she would fiercely protect this area, fiercely protect her cubs, and she would have the support of other females in that. So at this point in time, I'd say at the den with the cubs, she has a very, very strong position. When it comes to those cubs growing up, and you know, maybe splitting off from the clan for one reason or another, whether it's food availability or an altercation with another predator, there may be a takeover of some description. But at the moment, she is top ranking hyena, and that's the way it'll stay around this den site for sure. But great question from you, and thanks very much for being on board with us this morning. These are beautiful. I just might take a few images here, folks, because it's such a beautiful, beautiful location. So Nicole, it's a great question you have, and welcome aboard to you as well. When will the baby get his spots? Well, you can see, it's not often, well, you do see it sometimes, but we've got a great display here of an adult female. We've got the 6-month-old, and we've got the youngster. And your question is, when will she develop, the cub develop spots? And Mum's coming right down here. Hello, Mama. Nicole, I'm definitely coming back to your question. I'm just looking at this lovely interaction we're having here with this mother. She is so close, folks. She's only like, I'd say 5 to 7 feet in front of our vehicle. She's going to lie down right there. Hello, Mama. Oh, she's delightful. Such perfect condition. So close to us. And Nicole, you want to know when the baby's going to get its spots? Well, you can see with her, the brother up just above her there, or brother, sorry, I'm not sure. It may be a female, actually, that cub, I'm not sure. I can't quite see. It's very difficult, as you know, with the genitalia of hyena. Look at this there. She's got the little baby. Now, this is really important for the baby to be able to deal with situations like that, the little cub. It was a little bit of full-on play, but Mummy's down here. It just fell down the hole. Bum's down right in front of us. But, you know, that little cub is going to have to deal with situations like that in the times growing up. The older sibling is playing a bit rougher than we've seen normally, but it's very important. And that cub will get start to get its spots, you know, start to see traces of spots, or the beginning of the spot pattern happen in about probably 2 to 3 months. And then as it gets on, as that 6-month-old is there, you start to see the spots are well developed. The hair's a little bit longer on the cubs. And then as the time goes on, it starts to wear off a little bit, and particularly on the sides of the body where the animal lies. It's normally the longest hair is along the spinal column above the neck, and it's so beautiful to see this interaction. But great question. Thank you very much, Nicole. So sort of about 3 months, you'll start to see traces of the spots, and then it'll start to develop towards 6 months, like the cub we've got up there, the older one of the two. Mia, we've got a great question from you, Mia. You're only 6 years old, and I tell you what, that's a fantastic question to be asking, and I'm so glad you're watching. We've got your question is, can the little baby, the little cub fall down the termite mound or the hill that he's on? Absolutely, he can, but you know what, it wouldn't hurt him. He's probably been pushed down there by his brothers and sisters or his mum accidentally. I've seen him fall down the hole a couple of times, which has been quite amusing to see. But Mia, he'd be absolutely fine. He wouldn't hurt himself. Very, very strong creatures even at this age, and he can withstand a bit of rough and tumble like that. But great question, Mia, and lovely to have you on board this morning on Safari Live, my friend. I can't believe, Mia, I'm talking to you live from Africa. This is really special stuff. Great to have you, buddy. Such a beautiful location where we are, folks. It's hyena paradise. Coda, great to have you on board, Coda, and you've got a very, very interesting question as well. But I want to also say, Coda, if you asked the question last night about the length of leopard teeth, I didn't quite get to you, Coda. I was going to answer that question for you in the tent and show you a tooth. Maybe this afternoon I might do that for you, buddy. If you're watching later on in our afternoon show, wherever you are, and you can afford to do that, that would be great. And I'll show you the length of a leopard's tooth, my friend. But it was a great question. Now, your question this morning with us, Coda, is how many are in the clan, because we only see a few here and there, and we see some animals coming in and to greet. But Coda, I think there's about probably 6. That's the number that I've seen at this den site. And of course, the mother's got to stay here a little bit more than she would if she didn't have a cub. So close. I parked up in this spot this morning just because I thought they were going to stay up on the hill, but now they're so close to us, so I actually might have to move back, but I don't want to scare them by starting the engine. But Coda, really great question. I think there's about 5 or 6, and they'll be out at the moment, probably looking for food and spending time at maybe another den or another location. But at the moment there's only 3 here, and the mother's staying here obviously to spend time and suckle her young and grow her little cub there, and then she'll go off and hunt. But yesterday, Coda, we saw a really interesting thing. She gave the special word. He's come right close to us. She gave the special word to send her cub down into the den, and as soon as she did that, the cub disappeared, and off she went off into the bush to hunt or to scavenge and get some food, because she's got to produce milk for her cubs, so she still has to go out there and get food. She definitely spends a lot of time here with them, Coda, and a very, very good mother she is. Great question, Coda. Lovely to have you on board this morning, mate, and again, talking to you live from Africa is one of the best things on the planet for me. So the morning in this cool time will be spent playing and exercising, and every single bit of play that the animals, get my camera out of the way there for you. Every single bit of play is don't know if you can see how close they are to us. This is the closest this little guy has come. Hello, my boy. This is absolutely superb. And what's happening here, folks, is something very, very special. Many of you may know this, but it's a word called habituation. And what we're doing here is very important for these animals to know that we're no threat to them. And that way we can get this close, and us and other visitors that come to the reserve can have the same sort of, sorry, my head in the way there, the same sort of interactions as we're having, which stays with you forever. These interactions that we're having with these animals, I never forget this. This is probably my most interactive or special sighting of hyena that I've ever had. Hey, my boy. He is right at the front of the vehicle, and as I said, folks, I can't really start the vehicle and move back because I don't want to alarm them or startle them. And it's another thing with this this habituation process that we do with the animals. If they were up on the termite mound there and I started the vehicle, the mother might just lift her head, but she wouldn't be concerned about that whatsoever. Those birds up there that Andrew's just spotted are a fantastic little species, comical little species called a fork-tailed drongo. And they're often around hoofed animals, particularly elephant and buffalo walking and animals that are grazing, because what happens is a lot of the big hoofed animals will disturb insects on the grass or on the trees that they're feeding from, and these birds will capitalize on that, or these birds will be able to utilize that situation and dart off into the breeze and catch species of insect on the wing. It's a great little relationship, so you often see them. They're just resting up there at the moment. Deborah, we've got a question from you about, I am so close, Deborah, I'm sorry, I'm going to take the opportunity to move back when I can, but I don't want to startle them, as I said. And Deborah, your question is whether you hyena eat grass or other vegetation like dogs or cats do, maybe to aid a digestive process, or we have this sort of understanding that dogs sometimes eat grass if they're feeling ill or there might be a problem digestively with them. I've never seen hyena eat vegetation. I'm sure they probably do at some point. Their animals are incredibly smart, and after millions of years of evolution, and they would be utilising every part of their environment. And I'm sure there's different species that they do ingest in times when they might have a stomach problem or a stomach upset. But I've never seen it myself. Unfortunately, but thanks for your question and thanks for being on board this morning on Safari Live. I might try and look that up for you, and maybe I can answer that in the safari tent this afternoon. And if you try and send it... Yeah, that was interesting. Did you see that? Isn't that fantastic? So Mum just told the little six-month cub to back off a little bit. He was getting a little bit boisterous with the other younger cub. And there's some lovely behaviour going on right here. Just like we would do in a family with a teenage older brother playing a little bit roughly with a baby. Lovely vocalisation. Hello, Mama. Lovely vocalisation here, and just behaviour that you can see. She wants to reprimand him, and he's like, "It wasn't my fault. I was just playing." She's going to go back up into her regular spot, looking after her youngster. Look at that. So just like us in a family, Mum looks after baby, reprimands the older brother and says, "Settle down, that was a little bit rough." Oh, it's just magic, isn't it? he's sulking down the bottom now after getting a little bit of a reprimand from Mum. Folks, while we've got them up there and the babies, the cubs, I keep saying the baby, but I'm the youngster. It's funny, you slip into terminology sometimes, but the cub is just on the other side. Just see what happens here. Look how the wide berth that the 6-month-old's taken around Mum. Mum hasn't forgotten. I think she's still going to give him a bit of a taste of. Yeah, she's not happy with him. Very interesting behaviour. So very protective Mum. She might lay there relaxed. She knows the level of play that is acceptable, and she's going to reprimand that 6-month-old cub at some point. Just quickly, before we go across to Brent for an update, I just want to show you, whilst they've gone behind, the foot or the paw print of a hyena. And I think it's really interesting to know. We often drive along the road and we look out the over the edge of the car, and we see this print quite often, which can look a little bit like a leopard print at some points. But the giveaway is this. The claws, these non-retractable claws that we do get an impression from on the road, is the determining factor on whether we follow it as a leopard or we know that it's hyena. And it is because their claws don't retract like a cat, and the cat's claws, only cat that doesn't have a retractable or fully retractable claw is the cheetah. So you'll get a similar sort of paw print or imprint on the ground with those nails. But that's just to show you that we always know it's a hyena by these 4 claws, and this is a brown hyena, just to give you a comparison. But I'll show you some more of these paw prints later on. At the moment, I think the best thing for us to do while the hyenas have gone and we reposition is just to see what Brent's up to. And just for the record, this is my first drive with Brent, I think, I've done in time. I can't quite remember, but it does feel like it. Nah, he's a sensational guy. I tell you what, when you're out with Brent and he's tracking cats, you better have your fitness level up, because he is just notorious for just finding that cat. Great guy. Let's cross over and see what he's up to.
So we're just sitting quietly on the edge of the Marikeni drainage line. We've got this wonderful group of waterbuck in front of us. And we are in the area where Tingana was last seen by Peter on yesterday's sunset safari. And it's always good. We're just listening to that distinct white circle on the bum of the waterbuck. It looks like they've sat on a freshly painted toilet seat. It's a following mechanism for the youngsters to follow the adults through the bush. You can see a little starling hopping around at their feet. We haven't found any tracks yet. Makes me wonder whether possibly Tingana might have caught something bigger last night in that big block he was in. But Jamie and the trackers are in the area, so they're probably going to walk in there, see what they can find. And there's also a pair of white-backed vultures in the distance. I'll show you now. There we go. Sitting on a dead tree. And vultures and other big birds of prey like sitting on those dead trees because there's lots of room for them to take off. And we're going to keep checking the edge of this river system. So Tingana was last seen just over my shoulder here. And what I am hoping is we're going to find some tracks, or even better, we'll find him. I asked you how many antelope species were in the Greater Kruger or possibly could occur here. And very interesting. We had a few different answers. 230, I think, was one, I'm afraid. I wish there were that many species. A couple around the 30 mark. Unfortunately, no one's correct yet. So I'm not going to give it away just yet. I'm going to give you guys a little more time to figure out how many antelope species occur or could possibly occur in the Sabi Sands and the Greater Kruger National Park. Okay, this is a really good chance. If he has come out of this block, he would have walked on this road. Not seeing any tracks. We're going to check it though, and if we get no tracks, I'm going to have a chat with Jamie and see if they're here on foot. Sun's out, beating off the cloud. It's time for a hat. And you'll notice we only really wear wide-brimmed hats when we're on the vehicles. When we're walking on foot, we don't. And the main reason for that is we are using our ears so intently that sometimes with a big hat, it sort of affects your hearing and you don't get an exact direction on the stuff you hear. But on the vehicle, when we stop, we listen, we take off the hat so we're able to listen then. See what Jamie's up to. Jamie. Jamie, what area are you guys in at the moment? Thanks. I've checked second windmill. I didn't find any tracks there. I did see tracks on the camp drainage from Arethusa, but they were from earlier. So we're going to keep checking this area. We've got Jamie checking the drainage line. She's got both the trackers out looking at that exact last position where Tingana was eating that piglet. And while we do that, let's go see what a true gentleman and a scholar's up to. And I know you've been having a great time with HT at the Hayden Den, so let's check in there.
Well, if there's anyone that's going to find that cat, Tingana, it's going to be Brent Leo Smith. I call him the Bloodhound, and he is incredible when he's looking for those cats, so fingers crossed. We're not going anywhere. This is just too special. It's very rare that you get to have an interaction with a den like this and the comfortable sort of attitude or the habituated animals that we've got with us. So this is a really, really special time for us folks, and I'm sure many of you are experiencing it like we are live here from Africa, and to see the 6-month-old playing with the cub and the mother so content and so comfortable with us here is just so special. So we had the mum's settled down a little bit now. I think she's forgotten about the reprimand for the 6-month-old. But I have to say, the little cub, the real youngster, he's pushing the boundaries a little bit with his brother or sister. He's been on the back of the other one, just biting into the neck and showing lots of display, actually, that he will use in his later life. Now, remember, folks, I'm calling the little cub a he just for ease of operation. Not really sure of the sex of it. It's just that I've started calling it a he, so we don't really know, but it's just easy to talk about like that. So beautiful. The light's changing a little bit. We're getting a little bit of penetration from the sun now, breaking through the cloud. The light should be magic on these animals. And the world, the explorable world for this little cub is, everything is new to it. It's just seen I think it was a dung beetle that flew down, probably by accident, into the den, and he's just looking down into the den hole now. And it's all about exploring and learning for this little cub. I think we touched on it the other day, and it's quite a violent little situation that happens down in the den site. They normally have 1 to 2 offspring. It's the newborns weigh about approximately 3 pounds, about that, and that sort of down in that den site when they're born, there's a very, very the dominancy starts within the first 24 hours, and one will highly overpower the other one and often kill the other one. So hence you get the strongest surviving, and I think that's what we see here, this tenacious little character who is the most successful cub that we've had. Beautiful creature. Maylene, we've got a great question from you, and you're 11 years old, and what a fantastic question, and great to have you watching, matey. Your question is, do the hyenas dig the den themselves? Maylene, what happens is, this is a termite mound, and this is a very old termite mound, probably decades old, like many, many years, probably 10, 20 years, maybe even more, and the termites build this mound, and then lots of animals use termite mounds to have their homes in. And the first animal that normally makes a home in them is an animal called an aardvark, A-A-R-D-V-A-R-K. And if you might want to have a look up on the internet or after Safari Live and have you might have a book there that shows you a picture of an aardvark. They're a nocturnal creature that's got a very, very specialised diet of eating only termites and ants. Now, they move on over time, and what happens then is that hole is it's like moving into a new home for some animals, and the new animal will come along, and it could be a warthog, or it could be another aardvark, it could be I've even seen leopard using an aardvark hole to have as a den for its cubs. And then what happens a lot of the time is hyenas find these holes perfect places for them to have their den. And they will excavate, or they will dig out some of that as well, Maylene, and they will make it a little bit bigger. Obviously, they're a bit bigger than an aardvark. But then again, I have to say, Maylene, if you look up that animal and see a picture, they are quite a big animal, aardvark, as well. Now remember that a hyena is about 160 pounds, which is quite a big animal. You could probably get mum or dad to explain to you or compare some things to you about how big that is, and then they'd have to dig that hole out to fit in there, Maylene, and then they'll have a really beautiful spot down there where she'll have her cubs. And that's the process. And when the hyena leave here, another animal might come in here. Warthogs might come back here again. So great question, Maylene. Fantastic to have you on board with us this morning, matey. And wherever you are, I hope the weather's good for you, and I hope to hear from you again. You're probably our 10th wild child this morning on Safari Live, and just makes my day to hear that kids your age are watching this. Really great stuff, buddy. You can see the mother's very alert always. She's got great ears, and we talked about it yesterday. Those wonderful, wonderful ears. And all the kids that are watching right now, if you're watching in class or you're watching at home, wherever you are, do a little thing for me now and cup your hands and put them behind your ears, like you're making your ears bigger. We did it yesterday as well. And see if you can turn around the room or get somebody to talk to you, or maybe the teacher can talk, and everyone cup their hands and see if your hearing improves or it gets better, or you can hear the teacher or mum or dad better. And what that is you're making your ears bigger, or those areas around your ears capture the sound even more. And that's what a hyena's ear is like. Beautiful big, they're like a radar dish. And they pick up the sound wave and it gets captured in there and then goes down into the ear canal, and then it goes into a special part of your brain that processes it and turns it into a message, basically. And that's exactly when that mum lifts her head sometimes and looks over her shoulder. She's heard a sound. I probably don't hear it. You can see she's just done it then. She's looking over her shoulder. She might be smelling as well. She might be picking up a scent of something. The wind is blowing from behind us onto the hyena den. Shell, we've got a question from you. Great to have you with us this morning on this beautiful morning here in Africa. Your question is, why are hyenas' necks so long? Okay, well, it's a combination of many things, but we, in the tent, if you do get a chance to watch the tent, the safari tent on the television broadcast that we do this afternoon, you may see I might have a hyena skull on the table, and I can talk to you a little bit about how the muscles work on that. It carries on down the neck. The muscles on a hyena's head are some of the strongest of any of the predators in Africa. It's got the same strength or bite strength as a grizzly bear. Now, it's a number called that's measured in a special scale called pounds per square inch, and the hyena's bite strength is about 1,100 pounds per square inch, which is massive for an animal of its size. But it goes down, and I'm going to quickly finish this because Brent's got something fantastic for you. But the neck, just to finish, Shell, the neck is an incredibly powerful addition to that, and allows them to bite through incredible bones, take down prey. They're a fierce predator as well, and that neck is all part of that massive muscular sized head and shoulders that allows them to be such a successful predator. Just underlines. Well, look, we're going to cross to Brent. He's got one of my favorite birds on the planet, and you better get across there quickly because they don't stick around long. We'll see you just now.
So we're with one of the most rare birds in southern Africa, a ground hornbill. You try to sneak a bit closer now as it moves off into the bush. That's incredibly big birds. Less than only just over 200 breeding pairs in the whole country. So whenever we see them, we do document them, and we send that off to researchers so they can try and keep a tab on how many individuals. And very interesting social structure for a bird. Very long-lived, can live up to sort of 50 years, even in the wild. Just try and find a gap through the trees for you so we can have another look at him. And it is a hemp, it's a male. So at this time of the year, the female's in the nests, and he'll be out looking for food that he'll take back to the female while she's in the nest. He's just ducking and diving through these terminalias. Should pop out into the open in a second. You can see that big red bulbous area around his face. That becomes inflamed during the breeding season. One of my favorite calls in the bush is the ground hornbill. And early morning and late evening, you hear it stretch through the bush. Do, 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 do. Prolific hunters of mice, lizards, snakes, baby birds, big insects, anything they can really find. So only the males normally become nomadic, and the females will stay in that little flock. And the young that stay with the flock will help feed the female. And then only when that really old mother dies will one of her daughters fill that spot. And they've got a very high mortality in their first year of life. And they're one of the, what you call keystone species. One of the species that sort of let you know the health of an ecosystem. And they only really are left in the big reserves and that now. And have been pretty much wiped out from a lot of the sort of agricultural and farmlands. A lot of that happened a long time ago with pesticides and that. The populations are slowly recovering and they are being reintroduced into areas where they're locally extinct. Try and get another view. It looks like it's heading out into a slightly more open area. Just going to take one last look and then we will leave him be to hunt for food for his lady. Disappear, so we'll have one quick last look. Always awesome to see those magnificent birds. And there he disappears. And while he walks off, let's go see what Scott's up to on foot.
Hello everyone and welcome to the bushwalk. We got off to a bit of a delayed start as we have been searching for any tracks of big cats, unsuccessfully sadly, but we decided to come into this area to take a little walk around, and Jean-Andre, who's on camera with me this morning, did an incredible job of finding us these little caterpillars in this red bush willow tree, and they are from the moths that are called pus moths or prominence. Now I've just discovered that. I've just been looking in my book. Sadly, there's no picture of the actual moth that they will turn into one day, and there was only pictures of these beautiful caterpillars, but at least we could identify them as pus moths. What I find really interesting is that the head of the caterpillar, which is up over here, looks less face-like than its rear end, and I'm just going to turn the branch ever so slightly so that Jean-Andre can show you its rear end, and that looks more like a face to me, but probably a very clever design in that it's not, it's unimportant end, its rear end looks like a face, and its face, which is the important end, doesn't look like anything. So if any predators do come, that rear end may help to deter them. Interesting stuff. Cool, well there's lots more of them all over this tree, higher up, and we just thought we'd show you them, and now we can continue on the bushwalk. The reason how Jean-Andre actually found them, and this is quite interesting, is down on the ground here, and I'm going to try and pick up, you can see hundreds of little black specks, and I'm just going to try and pick some up and then show them to you here. Those little individual black specks are all the droppings from the caterpillars. So in and amongst the sandy granules, you can see the black specks, and it's a lot of debris that these caterpillars are dropping down from the tree after feeding on these tasty leaves. Great! So like I said, sadly, no leopard tracks, no lion tracks. We've been driving all around Djuma, haven't come up with too much But now that we've checked a lot of the roads, we can start checking in between the roads, and hopefully we'll be able to discover something on foot that you would naturally not be able to find whilst driving around. The wind is in our favor. My little ash bag is blowing straight into Gendre's face, and he's probably going to sneeze shortly. But the wind is in our favor, and that's a good thing. There's a little bird called the red-backed shrike. Now, we haven't seen too many of them this summer, and I'm going to see if we can't get you a view of one. They're migratory birds, and there's one just hopping around in this little bush in front of us. We should be able to get you a view. Let's keep going a little bit further. I don't want to drop Gendre in the deep end. Try and get into a good spot where we can zoom in on this bird. Gendre, it's kind of straight ahead of us. There it goes. You might be able to get it now. Awesome. So that's the red-backed shrike. And I'm not sure if it's a juvenile. I just got a brief glimpse with my binoculars. But that certainly is a red-backed shrike, possibly a new bird for your bird lists, and one that I'm not too sure when they usually arrive back from their migration, but I don't remember seeing too many so far, and hopefully we'll see more and more of them around. Good work there, Gendre. So Jamie is out also searching for tracks this morning. She's headed across to Arathusa. We're really trying our best to try and get a few more cats. But thankfully, ooh, here's another pretty bird. I'm going to drop Gendre in the deep end. It's hopping. If you just zoom in, sorry Gendre, I just bumped you there. If you zoom into the tree, oh, there it goes. Probably going to be too far now, but it's an orange-breasted bush shrike. Oh, no way, Gendre's got it. Now, it's a little bit far, but you may be able to see that bright orange throat patch. They are spectacular birds, the bush shrikes. And off it goes. And we're going to be sending you off to join Hayden at the hyena den. We'll be sure to call you back if we find anything interesting.
I've got a lovely male kudu here. There's a couple of them around, taking advantage of some of the green flash on the little bushes. I'm going to roll forward slightly so you can see the others. There's a guy coming, about to walk, enjoying the one we were looking at. Magnificent antelope. I'll get you a better view. Notice there's very distinct stripes on kudu. And Rich King's wondering, why do some of the antelope and equines or horse species, like zebras, have stripes in Africa? Well, the main thinking is that it breaks up the solid lines, so it helps with camouflage. Because remember, most of the predators only see in black and white. So anything that's a very strong, stark line sticks out. So it's just to sort of break up that line, and you'll notice, see, we move a bit further out, and they keep still. You can see how they blend into the bush, even though the bush is a different color to them. Truly magnificent. One of the largest antelope species we get in this area. also a very good indicator for us is that they have an incredibly loud alarm call, a deep booming bark, and that often helps us to locate lion and leopard. So one of the antelope species we don't see is the eland. And Jane's wondering if I've ever seen any eland in the Sabi Sands. I have not, but just to the north of us here, I have, in the Manyeleti. And I've never seen them in the Sabi Sands. It's not to say they might not come visit us one day. And those could have moved off a thicker bush, so we're going to leave them be. We're in an area called Red Dam. I just want to come check if there's any water left here, because if there is, it's a very likely spot that Mr. Tingana might have come after a meal. Oh, while we move down there, it's got a little yellow-billed hornbill. He is. Oh, look at that. They are funny looking birds. Hopefully, guys. And those of you who've watched The Lion King will remember Zazu. And that was Zazu. So, in The Lion King, quite clever. In real life, not so much. Well, there's a tiny bit of water here. Let's go check. See if we can find a leopard track. So I'm just going to jump out of the vehicle quickly and look very carefully around this water hole in case that beautiful male leopard came here for a drink. So leopards don't like getting too much mud on their feet and that, so it's quite easy to spot where they might drink. And luckily the ground's quite soft, so we should see a track if he did come here. The difficult thing for him would be to get to the water, so this would be the most likely place we would find a track. And a little bit over there. I'm going to check here first, carefully. Hyena's been here overnight. Still hyena, no leopard. So this is the other likely spot that he might have a drink. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move the vehicle around here now. There's a beautiful hyena footprint, and that because it's in this mud, can be seen quite nicely. But it doesn't look like the leopards come here for a drink. Only a hyena, some buffalo, impala. But I want to just show you that hyena track quickly. Just so perfect in the mud. Very seldom we get to see them that distinct. Now, where did I see it? It was a bit further on. Go. Let's try to get Tibbs into the right spot. without getting stuck in the mud as well. You got it there, Tibbs? Come down. I'm going to jump out and show you exactly now. There we go, that one. So you can see it really nicely. This is the front foot of the hyena. The back foot's a bit smaller over there. And you can almost see all the claws, and you can see it does not have that three-lobed back of a cat. So the only cat that's claws stick out is the cheetah, but would still have that very distinct three lobes. And hyenas love these water holes. I probably guess this guy went from the tracks, he's gone like this, and he's climbed in and he's lain in that water to cool off, covered himself in mud. Hyenas are really great water lovers. Not so much the deeper water, but little pans and mud wallows. They often sleep inside. And the other very interesting thing about a hyena, and they're quite clever about that, is they cache food. And they're often hiding it from the other hyenas. But hiding it from something with such a highly developed sense of smell can be quite a task. So what they do is they will find a water hole or a little pan, and they will stash, like a whole zebra leg sometimes, inside there. And what that does is it removes the scent, and the other hyenas can't find it. But that hyena will always know to go back to that hole. So sometimes you see, very strangely, like there's a zebra hoof sticking out of a tiny little mud hole, and it's from a hyena caching it. So we're going to keep checking this area for this leopard. And while we do that, let's go see what Scotty's found on the bushwalk.
How cool is this? We've got a massive leopard tortoise, and it's highly mobile. It actually could be charging Jandra at the moment, heading straight towards you guys. You must be getting some awesome views. And take a close look at those spiny scales on their legs, perfect for getting good grip. And they've got incredible. And those little spiny scales certainly help them. You'll be getting some incredible views now as it heads off to some cover. Something very important with tortoises, and just a lesson for all of us to learn, is to not pick them up when possible, or generally as all the time. And the reason why is that they will urinate as a defense mechanism, and because it does take them long periods of time to get from A to B, they may not be able to get to water recently or very soon after they've urinated to chase you away. So it's important just to view them where possible, not to pick them up, especially in the dry months of the year. Isn't this awesome? It's got a big tick on it, the side of its neck, that you may have actually seen. It's actually got one on each side, but you probably would have just been able to see the one on the right-hand side. And as I said, this is a very big leopard tortoise. They don't get much big in this area. Now we're getting to see some of its off-roading capabilities. Incredibly powerful little animals. That shell is heavy, so they're very strong in order to be able to carry that around all day. And now we're going to see it mountaineer over some of these dead guarri branches. Or is he going to try and go underneath? Either way, we don't want to cause it too much discomfort, and we're going to continue off without getting him to hide too deep in the cover. Wonderful. So, caterpillar and a tortoise so far. What will be next? A few days ago, Mvula, a big male leopard, walked straight through this area just up ahead of us. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we bumped into him again? This is a dry mud wallow. And I've just lost my sock. Let me get my sock quickly. This is a dry mud wallow. Usually at this time of the year it will be filled with moisture and water, and animals like warthog, buffalo, elephant, rhino will come into here and use it like a health spa, rolling around in the mud, covering their skin in this thick layer of protective mud, preventing parasites from latching onto them, and also encapsulating some parasites that have already managed to get onto their skin in that layer of mud, and then they'll rub it off against trees and be able to get rid of all their parasites. So useful spot, but sadly at this time of the year they are dry due to the drought we are experiencing. Okay, we're going to send you back to HT at the hyena den. I hope you're getting some good views of the little cub that's getting more and more adventurous as the days go by.
Welcome back, guys. How fantastic is it to see that tortoise? We were just talking about leopard tortoises this morning, and Scotty's got an amazing eye out on those walks for things like that. So I just wanted to bring you up to date with what's happened here. As you can see in the beautiful image there, we've got our little cub suckling now, and just to bring you up to speed with the behaviour that happened when we crossed over to Brent with those hornbills, which are really important to see those because we don't see them very often. The little cub was really wanting to suckle, and he wasn't in a good position, and Mum, the dogs, they're more related to cats than they are dogs in the Hyenidae family, but that same sort of little whelping sort of cry, and then Mum was getting into a position for him, and it wasn't going right, and he wasn't happy, and then she lifted her back leg and allowed him to get in, and then suddenly it all just settled down, and you can see the bliss that's on her face and on his, and she will lie there. And what we're going to do is move on from here, but just a quick bit of background about what's happening. That suckling could go on for 1.5 hours. They suckle for about 6 times a day, up to about 3 months old, and after that it trims down to about 3 times a day, and then at about 1 year of age they start to get weaned off. Now I have seen the 6-month-old cub sneak a suckle now and again as well, so she'll be weaning him off, but it's absolutely hysterical when you see them and they are weaned fully, because there's these massive tantrums they have when Mum won't let them feed. They behave like a little child having a tantrum, and they carry on and they get really upset and they vocalize, and Mum just won't have a bar of it. She just stands her ground, and the little sort of 1-year-old has to walk around and find a little place to sulk. But what's happening right now in front of us is a beautiful weaning, beautiful suckling session. The little one has been latched onto that teat, for that nipple, for quite some time, and he'll feed for a substantial amount of time now. So what we're going to do, I think, is start to move out of here and leave them in peace. They've given us an amazing sighting this morning, absolutely beautiful encounter that I'll never forget. These are the times where Andrew and I were just talking about. These are times that you just stay with you forever, and we meet up again in time, Andrew and I will say, remember that time at the hyena den? It's really times like that, folks, and this is what Safari Live's all about. It's about these live interactions with you, asking questions to us. You shared that with us this morning. Every one of you on our biggest safari vehicle on the planet shared that with us, and that's one of the most special things about Safari Live. It's not like we're out here recording it and taking it back to a studio and editing it and putting a voiceover on it or anything like that. It's live, 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 and there's nothing else like it on the planet, so it's great to have you on board. I'm going to reverse out of here, and we might go up to Buffelshoek Dam. We've got about just over an hour, 1 hour and 5 minutes to go, so we might see something. Sorry, baby, sorry. It's okay. It's okay. Just settle down again. Just a little shock there. It's okay, my boy. It's okay, Mama. Okay. Gosh, that was a great sighting, wasn't it? It's so nice to just be in the presence of animals that are comfortable and you know that you don't go any closer. I mean, goodness me, we pulled up at a very, very respectful distance this morning, and they came down to us. So it's just an indicator of how comfortable they are with us and how little impact. So it was really interesting with Peter last night to see. He spoke through it so perfectly and explained that, you know, the behaviour that following that, we don't impinge on their ability to hunt. You saw the success last night. The proof was in the pudding with Tingana. But what encounter and sighting and that Peter had last night with that, and with all of you and all of us, I was watching it. It was extraordinary to see that on camera and live. So if you'd like to talk to us and interact with us, that's what Safari Live is all about. You can tweet us at #SafariLive, or you can email us at questions@wildearth.tv, and we will get to as many as we possibly can. It's been fantastic this morning to have so many young people watching. It really inspires me. It really excites me. Andrew and I were just talking about how fantastic fun Operation Wild Child is, and getting you kids wild, getting you to get outside in your own habitats as well. We talked about it a little bit yesterday, and I keep saying that, but I like to repeat these things now and again because it's very important that Safari Live is an incredible excursion or an incredible adventure for us to take you on, but also your own backyards, your own gardens, your own woodlands, your own bits of habitat around your place, wherever you live, are just as important as where we are now. Very, very important stuff. So get out there, get amongst it, grab mum or dad, get out there, turn over some logs, look at some cool stuff, get some apps on your devices or mum or dad's devices so you can identify trees and insects and reptiles and birds, and just get out there and connect with nature, kids, because I tell you what, if you don't do it, we're in big trouble. We're relying on you to look after the planet when we move on. You're the next generation of carers and guardians for this planet. Really do try and get out there with mum and dad, get them off the lounge, get them away from the computer after Safari Live's over, by the way, and get out there and get outside and connect with nature. We're just going to head up to the Buffelshoek Cut Line, one of my favourite roads to drive along. I've seen Wild Dog up there walking towards me. The guys have got beautiful photographs and stuff like that as well. We'll head up to Buffelshoek Dam. We can find up there. Let's cross over the unbelievable Brent Leo Smith to see what he's up to. I'm sure he's got something for you.
So we've had no luck with the tracks of Tingana. And I'm going to leave JB and the trackers in the area. They're out on foot. They've got a much greater chance of spotting those tracks than me. And I think I'm going to go look for some eddies. It's getting warm. It's time to start checking the water holes. Guys are on the cams, on the dam cams. Keep a lookout. Let me know if there are any elephants there. I think I've got an idea where we might find some. So I'm going to move into that area now. A very quiet morning, but it's always wonderful to be out here in the African bush, and there's always something new to discover. So while we're meandering along here on the northwestern boundary of Arathusa Private Game Reserve, Mandy's wondering what is my favorite big cat. Oh, Mandy, now you've... 1 second, Mandy. Put me on the spot a bit, but I thought I saw something there. Hope I didn't drive over it. Very interesting little mark in the ground here. I just want to have a look at it. And I'm just going to have a quick look off the vehicle. Mandy, I will get to your question. It might be quite pertinent with this. Really interesting track. I thought it was a drag mark. I thought maybe a leopard had caught something and dragged it across the road. But on closer inspection, I don't know how close you can get in here, Ted. I'll bring a piece of it. I'll try to. Don't break it. There we go. Incredible. And it's a monster that made this track. I'm going to try to get it in the sun. Just try to jump into the car. Just going to try to get that. And you can see almost the little sparkles off it and how the sand's stuck together. And I don't know if it's shining nicely there, Tibbs. You're getting it almost looks like fool's gold in the sun there. Oh, it's collapsing, falling apart. But incredible track that. And that is a giant land snail track. So the mucus from the bottom of this land snail as it's been moving down the road during the night has bound all the soil particles together. And this is a really big one. I mean, big enough that I stopped to think it's a drag mark. But isn't that incredible? A snail track. So Mandy, back to your question now that we have determined that that wasn't made by a big cat, rather by a very big snail. Man, you'd like to know what's my favorite big cat? And it's such a difficult one for me. I really do like all of them. Lion, leopard, cheetah. Leopard definitely have that sort of elegance, that beauty about them. But for me, I think the raw power of a male lion hunting, or lions hunting, especially hunting big things like buffalo, might pip it a little bit. I think they're almost all equal. But in terms of sighting-wise, lions hunting for me is possibly one of the most amazing experiences. And those big males are just so incredibly powerful. But that's a three, I think, man, yeah. Such a difficult one. But while we do that, we're going to go across to Scott, who's got a creepy crawly.
So we found another caterpillar, although this one is very different to the last one. It's got these long black spines out of its body, and it's obviously bright reddy orange in color. Sadly, I'm not too sure which type of caterpillar this is. So if any of you know, please feel free to let us know what it's going to turn into, what moth or butterfly it may turn into one day, but I have no idea. It's the only one we can see in this bush, so different to the other caterpillars we saw earlier. There were a lot more of that species. This one appears to be hanging out, hanging from its bottom end, upside down on this tree. And maybe what it's going to be doing is thinking about wrapping itself in a cocoon and then preparing to get into the next stage of its life, which will be as a moth or a butterfly. But for now, it's just hanging out, and we just thought we'd like to show it to you because it's got some crazy colorations, and look at those black spines coming out of its body. I wouldn't like to poke it to see if they get us unsettled and itchy, which is probably the case, as it is with most caterpillars. Cool, well, we're going to continue on and see what else we can find. So let's just take it slowly through here. We're along the Mulwati riverbed, a major riverbed that flows on our, kind of down to my left, and it flows in a southerly direction. There's no water in it at the moment, but around here there's a lot of thick vegetation. And in thick vegetation, the best option is to always take it slowly so that you don't run into trouble. Quite a few elephant tracks in this area, some heading north that way and some heading south, so we could bump into some ellies. Happy to hear that Brent's finally on the trail of Tingana, that big male leopard who was clever enough to catch a baby warthog last night, as I'm sure Brent's made a lot of you aware. The wind is still in our favor. It's quite a strong breeze blowing into our faces, which is nice. It's keeping us cool and keeping our wind upstream of where we're going. So if we do come across any animals, they're probably going to have no idea that we're actually here, which is great. That's the main aim and goal when walking through the African wilderness, that you would like to try as best as possible to have very little impact on the animal's ongoings. As we head through the bush, there's a strong chance we'll be able to hear some alarm calls, and Robin would like to know if there's a difference between the alarm calls of different predators. So if a monkey sees a lion, will the alarm call be different to that of when a monkey sees a leopard? And to a degree, Robin, I'm sure there are slight differences, that the animals and the species that are alarm calling may be able to note the differences, but it's very difficult for us to know these differences. The intensity of the alarm calls can sometimes be something that we can read into, and if monkeys or squirrels are alarming very insistently, that may mean that the predator is very close, or that they can still see the predator, and if they kind of are dying down, then it means maybe the predator's moved off but is still in the area, but not necessarily in eyesight. So it does depend. With impala though, Robin, what's interesting is that when an impala is caught from the herd, be it by a lion or a leopard, the alarm calls continue for much longer than they would if the impala were just to spot a lion or a leopard. And that happened not so long ago with Pete when we were tracking Shadow, a female, watch out there, Jean-Ray, a female leopard. We were on a trail, and eventually we heard these impala, pa, 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 alarming very, very insistently, and I knew just from those calls that she had caught one of them. Moved into that area, and sure enough, the impala was still kicking. The rest of the herd had come and were looking at the leopard from probably about 4 or 5 meters away, very, very close, looking at the leopard, alarming at it. But for different predators, I haven't been able to notice a difference. But you may find that there's 1 or 2 trackers out there who are capable of telling what an animal may be alarming at, but I'm certainly not there yet. So we're going to be following quite a major game trail towards Leadwood Road, which is an area where Kunyuma, a young male leopard, was last seen. And I'm hoping we're going to have some luck, maybe rustling up some tracks with him. And while we head off in that direction, we're going to send you up to HT at Buffalo's Hook Waterhole.
Well, folks, we just turned up to Buffalo's Hook Dam, and I know there's been a lot of visits here by the team over the past week, particularly through Big Cat Week. And the reason being is we're finding it very interesting. The water level has dropped considerably in the last 10 days. I'm amazed that buffalo are drinking this water still, but they're tough as nails, old buffalo. The water is getting very, very... it's a little bit foul in areas, but they're drinking from the deepest part of it. Just beyond that, there's a couple over to the right there that are lying down, and they will use the mud on the edges to coat their body, remembering that buffaloes, even though they look big and tough, they've got quite delicate skin when it comes to biting flies and things like that, and they love to coat themselves in mud and protect themselves like that. But interestingly enough, they're drinking from this water. Now, this water has become quite foul because of the concentration of dead tilapia, which are the fish that live in here, and an algal bloom, and hippopotamus defecating in the water, and it just gets to a point where it becomes something called eutrophic, and it's a very, very intense, toxic. It eventually will get there, and some animals may not even drink from it. So it just gets to the point where it'll dry up. We are desperate for these rains, really need these rains. But if we do go just pan around to the left, we've got some marabou storks over there that are capitalising on this situation, hunting. Sometimes you see marabou storks scavenging. They're a very, very important part of the ecosystem, but they're also very, very skilled hunters, particularly, as I said, capitalising on a situation like this where the tilapia concentration, that fish, will be so high that all they have to do is really put their beak or their bill into the water, and they're pretty sure of pulling a fish out. I think these birds are quite full at the moment, otherwise they would be hunting. But the buffalo, this is one of the only border points at this end of the reserve that's left, and I've seen this, the bank just over above that buffalo that you can see in the middle of the screen there. There's a bank behind it, sort of the remnants of just there, about sort of 1 o'clock on your screen. I've seen the water level up just to the base of that mound there, where you can see the hoof activity. So just down a little bit from there, that's where the water level was this time last year. So there's definitely a desperate need for the rain. I just want to give you a little bit of smell-o-vision as well, and tell you that I had a waft of rotting fish, and oh yeah, can you smell that, Andrew?
Delicious.
Yes, absolutely. Smells like the remnants of a fish market in some part of the world in a hot sunny day. Just to give you a little bit of a sort of sensory overload there's a very, very strong smell of rotting fish on there. So we've got a question coming through, I think. Got a question from Alyssa. Alyssa, great to have you on board again with us on Safari Live. Look how deep that one's going over there, Alyssa. This is a very dangerous point, Alyssa. I'm definitely coming to your question. I just want to talk about what we're seeing right now. This buffalo moving through that thick mud there. Very dangerous situation sometimes. If there was a big predator population that was present, they could capitalize on that and use that animal in the mud and pin it in there and potentially keep it in there and tire it out and maybe make a kill there. But I think in the situation that we're in right now with this many male buffalo around, they would probably band together and protect their kin. So Alyssa, your question is, do we get crocodile in here when the water level's up? And yes, we do. I've seen a crocodile in here. Crocodile will move overland. They can move vast distances, crocodile. They're quite astounding, particularly in times of drought. They can also hole up into the side of a riverbank, a cool sort of a hole that they may excavate and go into a very, very dormant state, slow their heart rate down, and just try and survive the drought. And I've seen animals in very, very dry areas holed up in these little banks or holes that they've excavated. So yes, we do get them. There was a reasonably sized one in here about 6 or 8 months ago, and he has moved on somewhere else. But great question, Alyssa, and thank you for being with us again. Always great to have you. There's that smell again, Andrew. It's not me, it's the fish. Just always when you sit at a place like this, you start to pick up other birds. Andrew, just on the right-hand side, you may have a little stick or a shrub in front of you. There's a pair of hammerkop. Beautiful bird, getting their name from their head shape looking like a hammer. That's them just there. You got a great little reflection of one of them, and they will also be trailing they'll be hunting in there as well, but if there's any scraps or tidbits left over from a marabou stalk, they will try and pick up a bit. But there's always hammerkop up here, and the marabous, and some Cape turtle doves kicking around the place, and some lovely sounds. But I don't think anything's happening. Just to the left of the screen here, Andrew, down there with the buffalo that are present. Just want to see you to note they are looking or facing a particular direction. One of the characteristics that you will see, or the behaviours with buffalo, a lot of the time they will place their hindquarters towards the water, with their armory facing out, so they can always see if anything is approaching. It doesn't always happen, particularly if there's a lot of them. They will, some of them may just throw caution to the wind and do it the other way around if there's lots of sets of eyes. But if there's only a couple of individuals, this is normally the sort of position that they will put themselves in, and facing themselves outward from the water point. So what we might do is move on a little bit. I think those animals are going to be here to stay for a while, and probably just resting. We might drive down in a little bit. We're just going to drop down into this drainage line here below the dam wall and see what's on the other side, because you never know what's around the next corner. Gosh, we've only got one day left of Big Fat Week tomorrow. Got a show this afternoon live on television on Nat Geo Wild, and I have to thank Nat Geo Wild so much for this sort of support and belief in this incredible adventure called Safari Live. It's just the best. We might lose signal just down here. I think we had good signals through there. We sometimes lose it in that little spot. Nice shot of the buffalo from the other side here. I'll just show you. Sorry, Andrew, we got you in a bit of a twisting position there. But that's the buffalo that was on the other side. You can see there. I've put Andrew on a very, very bad slope here. He's had to level the camera. I do apologise, mate. Formidable creatures. They're just superb animals. I love buffalo. This is a bachelor group, which we see lots of, and I know that you've seen many times before. Bachelors being bulls that are either been ousted from the herd or bulls that aren't in their prime anymore. And saw a little flick of something through there. Got a question from Jody in New Mexico. Jody, thanks for being on board, matey. And really interesting question. Is the hammerkop, that bird that we were looking at back there, is their head shaped like that, or is it just the feathers? It's probably a combination of both, Cody. Jody, I do apologise. I had a Cody earlier. Great name. And what will happen is there'll probably be a combination of a very interesting bill or beak shape, and the feathers do come around the back there, but they would be covering a similar sort of head structure. So a very unusual head shape, combination of both feathers and the head shape, Jody. Great to have you with us, and good question. Really nice one. They build an amazing nest, Jody, massive nest for the size of the bird. I find it extraordinary that they build this elaborate, huge structure. And I'm not really sure for the reason behind that. Maybe it is to impress the female as well, like many other birds do. I think we might have a little baby impala up here. Most fantastic question. I'm just going to get the spider web off Andrew's camera there that I can see. Sabrina, age 12, you asked a question yesterday about guiding, and this is a fantastic thing. You have just come back to us this morning, and this is what I love about Safari Live. You've come back to us and told us that in your high school, I think it is, you've got a zookeeping course or something. Maybe Control can tell me that again. I didn't quite hear it. But a course that you can do to learn how to do this, and that is the best news, and you're going to do it. We have success. Operation Wild Child reporting for duty. That is brilliant news. That is so fantastic, Sabrina. You've got to follow that through, matey, because that will make a huge change in your life and make you go on to the further steps. And you've just taken the first step, but going future, vision, everything that you want to do, follow it with passion, matey, and follow it like a dream. And I tell you what, you'll do it. I'll tell you my little story quickly. I wanted to be a zookeeper all my life. And my dad bought me these 4 baby chickens, and that was my first encounter with animals. And I got this incredible urge to care for animals, and I had lots of different chickens. I'm going to share something with you. Don't tell anyone about this, okay? But I used to show my chickens at chicken shows. Andrew just laughed then. Don't tell anyone about that, okay? But I used to breed chickens and put them into special shows. And I won a ribbon in 1975 for the best Rhode Island red rooster in the country, in Australia. I was very, very proud of that. So that was where it started for me. Then I wanted to be a zookeeper, and I followed that on, and I got a job at the zoo in Taronga Zoo in Sydney, Australia. It was the most beautiful experience, and that's one of the reasons why I'm here right now. I did that for about 10 years, and I worked. I went to my boss at the zoo and I said, can I go and do a little stint in Africa? Can I work with black rhinoceros, because they're one of my most favourite animals on the planet? And I went across there. He said yes. We had a project going. I went over and I helped with that, and back and forth from Africa. And Africa that's the most dangerous animal in Africa, by the way, everyone, is the Africa bug. Once it bites, your bank account goes like this. It's a bit of a problem for me. So I then I was leaving the zoo, and I only had 2 weeks to go, and I got a call from our public relations department. And some of you may have heard this story before. I do apologise if you have. But for Sabrina and all the other kids out there, just to tell you, you can follow your dream just like this, because you never know what pathway is going to present itself. You're going to have to make a decision which way to go. And I chose the pathway of going to Africa. I was going to move over there. I was going to go to Zimbabwe and work with elephant. And I got a call on the radio from our public relations department, and they wanted to see if they could bring some VIP guests up to look at the giraffe. They wanted to see if they could bring some VIP guests up to look at the giraffes. And I said to the lady who was working there, her name was Polly, and she's a great friend. And if I didn't take this phone call, everyone, I wouldn't be here right now. And it just happened to be 4 executives from National Geographic Channel. And I took them around and did a behind-the-scenes tour, giraffes, gorillas, chimpanzees, who what I worked with then. And one of the guys from those executives gave me his business card and said, give me a call on Monday, I've got an idea. Went and saw him on Monday. I was so nervous, I didn't know what it was about. He said, what would you think if I was to give you a small video camera and you were to go on your African travels and send me back a little story every week, 5-minute story? Well, to cut a long story short, it was called Video Postcards. It was one of the first in-house productions that National Geographic Channel ever did. And I was so proud of them. They were absolute terribly shot, terribly presented. I didn't know what I was doing, but with the magic of editors, they used to put this little 5-minute story together. And do you know what? That's where it all started with me, and that was 1997, nearly 20 years ago, working for Nat Geo Wild and National Geographic Channel. And I tell you what, Sabrina and everyone else that's watching out there, you young people have got the opportunity to do that exact same thing. I was nothing special. All I was showing was my passion and my love for this. And if you've got it in you, you can follow it too. Not a problem whatsoever. Sabrina, thanks for being with us, buddy. Right, let's go over to Scotty, because he's got something fantastic for you and one of my favourite animals on the planet. We'll see you just now.
We're going to be taking it very, very slowly. There's an elephant bull just up ahead of us, but it's going to be difficult for you to see him from here. Thankfully, the wind for now is in our favor, and we've got a good spot where we can creep up ahead. So we're just going to keep moving. Try and watch your step. He doesn't know we're here at this stage, even though he's only about 30 meters away, and we're going to try and keep it that way. We're also not sure if he's trailing a herd, a breeding herd of females, so we need to be cautious. But for now, everything's looking good, everything's in our favor, and we should be able to get you some good views of him without him even knowing that we're here. Jeandre, you're going to be able to lance through here. Jeandre is going to have to bend down and walk through this little gap because there's a lot of overhanging foliage here, and he needs to get the backpack antenna through all of it, which he's doing incredibly well. I have the ability to just waltz through the terrain with no issues, but it's a little bit more tricky for him. The elephants just dipped down into this riverbed up ahead of us here, which is actually quite a good thing because we should be able to then have a vantage point looking down onto him. You can see the wind is still blowing towards us, so he's not going to know that we're here. Now, because the bush is so thick, I'm just going to make sure that we don't startle him and don't surprise him. And he's just up ahead of us here. Where you gone, elephants? Okay, he's very close to me here. You're not going to be able to see him, but I'm going to ask Jeandre to stay where he is. If anything, Jeandre, maybe just start backing up. He's a bit closer than I expected. So let's keep going. And we'd rather just move out of here. I know you can see him, but I'd rather just move out. It's going to be... There, he just shook his head at us. You maybe heard him flap his ears. And rather than putting any unnecessary pressure on him, I'm just going to ask Jeandre to walk straight backwards out of here and not try and be too fancy about the whole thing. If you just hold the camera towards me and walk out, Jeandre. So he did detect us, but he didn't get too worked up. As you can see, he hasn't come charging. He just shook his head and let us know that enough's enough and the game of hide and seek is over. He has found us, and I'm glad you got to experience that with us. Even though you didn't get the best views, you did get an idea of how close he was to us. And now we can continue and leave him on his own. And what I'd like to do is show you this beautiful big Tumbuti tree just up ahead here. It's an area that I found not so long ago, and it's an area that I'm sure leopard have spent a lot of time with kills hoisted up into this tree. And I love coming across big old trees like this that you can sit underneath and contemplate what has happened there over the many years that they have been growing. And this is the beautiful cluster of Tumbuti trees. It looks like one big tree that's just split up and branched off at the base. And they provide good shade, these Tumbuti trees, and that's why you very often find large amounts of elephant dung underneath them. It's just littered all underneath here, and elephants, just like the one we've been viewing now, could come in and stand under this tree in the heat of the day and relax. So often they kind of create midday hotels for the elephants, the Tumbuti trees. Now, this is quite interesting. There's a good opportunity to show you a member of the small five, and there's a whole host of antlions, or the larvae of antlions, that have made their homes in the sand in front of me here, and they're just these little conical structures with very fine sand, and fine sand is the key to the success of the antlion larvae, because if anything falls into this conical structure as they try and run out, the fine sand avalanches in on itself, and it's assisted by the antlion larvae, which is lying right at the base of that cone, and it actually flicks sand up, inducing an avalanche. So whatever's trying to scramble out of that little conical indentation in the earth, it gets avalanched back into the base, and then the antlion will often latch onto it, waiting right at the bottom of that cone, and pull its prey under the ground. So not a good way to go, being killed by an antlion larvae. It's basically just a tiny little bug with massive chelicerae or teeth, and its adult form, just kind of like the caterpillars we were looking at earlier that turn into moths, these will turn into a larger animal, almost like a dragonfly. It's kind of like a slow-flying dragonfly that's most often active at night. They're mainly nocturnal, the adult antlions. Good. And we're going to send you back to Brent now, who has got another animal who has created a temporary home on the ground.
And we're back with this little Senegal lapwing nest. I've been checking on it almost daily to see when these chicks are going to hatch. Mom's just moved off a little bit. We're not going to stay here too long. But you can see the eggs are still there, all three. So she's managed to keep the predators at bay so far. But we're going to move off, let Mom come back to the nest. But isn't that incredible camouflage? You see as we go wide, they sort of disappear. And it's incredible, those little birds, I can't see where she's wandered off to now. She wasn't too far away. And she's actually getting more and more used to us coming to check on the nest, so not attacking us when we arrive. But even a that comes too close. It's so incredible. And if there's a predator, she'll pretend to have a broken wing. So we're back on Juma now. And unfortunately, no tracks yet. I don't think anyone's checked around Treehouse Waterhole. So that's where we're off to. Hoping for some ellies. I know you've been with some ellies with Scott. But it is one of those mornings there. So still. The sun is breaking through, but hasn't quite won the battle with the clouds that are rolling in. Hopefully the rain will stay away. During the safari time, of course, we want rain. It's so dry at the moment. And here we got a sign of an elephant pulling down a whole branch, this big branch of this marula tree, and then dropping it and feeding on what they want, and then leaving a mess on the road. Very inconsiderate of them. Go see if we can find these eddies now. They seem to be heading in that general sort of southerly direction towards Treehouse. So we've got lots of different critters out here. And Charlie's wondering, do we have any meerkats? Charlie, unfortunately not. The closest thing we have to a meerkat here will probably be a banded mongoose and dwarf mongoose. They're social mongoose species like a meerkat. But meerkats are adapted to living in the dry desert conditions. So they're in the very much arid in the west, southwest, up to the northwest, from South Africa through Botswana into Namibia. And unfortunately none in this area. It's too wet. Don't run. Oh, we've got a little male duiker. Oh, he's gonna jog. Hopefully he'll stop. There we go. He's got a broken horn, interestingly enough. You can see his right hand horn is broken. And not often these guys sit too long. I'm going to try and get him back a little bit. Hopefully he doesn't run too far. Oh, no, he's off. It's so hard to catch those little guys. They sort of sit for that half second and then split. With Charlie's question, we've brought up two members of the cast of The Lion King. And a great movie it was. It unfortunately perpetrated some very incorrect facts about the African bush. Firstly, the day I see a male lion run over by a stampeding herd of wildebeest, I will eat my hat. all of it in front of all of you. If it ever happens and it's ever recorded, I will eat my hat. Secondly, meerkats in the Serengeti, not. Probably about 3,000 miles between the closest meerkat and the Serengeti. The other thing, warthogs and meerkats being friends, very unusual. And even more unusual, lions, warthogs and meerkats being friends. And also, I think his name was Rafiki, the wise old mandrill, which is a baboon species, but mandrills only occur in the Central African rainforests, again, nowhere near the Serengeti. But it was a good story, and one should never let facts get in the way of a good story. So from the Lion King cast, we need to find some wildebeest and a warthog. And a lion, of course, but that's proving a bit difficult with no tracks. So this morning, we chatted a little bit about sometimes lions will kill something and not eat it. And one of those is a bush pig. And Monkey Man is wondering whether we do get bush pigs here. I've only ever seen bush pigs 3 times in the Sabi Sands. So they are here. I've generally seen them closer to the main river systems, further in the south, Sabi and the Sand River, where the reserve gets its name from. But I have never seen them up in the north. But they do occur in the Sabi Sands, and there's always a chance you might bump into one. They are mostly nocturnal. They can live in quite large sounders, up to 20 bush pigs in a group. But they do prefer slightly thicker bush. Lots of thickets to hide up in, sort of around riverbeds and in riverbeds. So for me, it's been really great. My first time actually driving around with Hayden. So speaking of Hayden, let's go see what he's been up to.
Folks, we've done a big loop around from the Buffelshoek Dam area. We saw a couple of baby impala, but a lot of the times with baby impala, the little lambs that are being bought, the mothers will go off into the sort of slightly more dense woodland before, and about 2 or 3 days they'll bring them into creches, into more open areas, but they have a tendency when they're a bit nervous just to walk off into the bush. So we didn't stop there. What we're going to do now is head up to that water point that Peter was at last night with that incredible elephant activity, and see if our hippo friend is there still. And we'll probably get there just beyond here. We'll go across the dam wall of Viatella Dam, where we've got one of our dam cameras, or the Viatella camera. You'll probably see us go past there if you've got that on as well. Oh, look at this guy. Wow. I love it when a plan comes together. Magnificent, magnificent bull elephant. Ah, he's so beautiful. Let's just see what he wants to do first. Hello, my boy. Hello, my boy. He is a stunning creature. Hey, my boy. It's okay, buddy. Just let him get used to us a little bit here before we... I might just get Andrew in a better spot here. Just going to reverse up here so my head's out of the way, folks. And Andrew we can just spend a little bit of time with this elephant. He may come down towards us. Is that all right for you, mate? Hello, my boy. He's astounding. It's okay, buddy. used to us a bit, I just start the engine, he is in must, okay, so you can see that secretion coming out of the temporal gland there, so he might not be as tolerant of us as he would normally be. So I just want to give him the opportunity to make the decisions and dictate the moves here. It's all right, my boy. Okay, buddy. So it's important that we just make sure we read the animal's behaviour. I'm just keeping my engine on just to see what his... you can see he's got that temporal gland going. He's walking right behind us, so we might get a little shot of the aerial in there, folks. But hey, my boy. What I'll do now is just reposition the vehicle. He's going to come around the other side of us, and then we're in a much better space. But he's very, very comfortable. We might just follow him down a little bit here. You can see a lot of, probably a bit more information than you need, but a lot of secretion and a lot of urine being spent, sorry. I'm just going to go down with him a bit, see what he's up to. Of course, we stayed a nice distance from an animal like that, he is in must, as I said, so that's that very highly aroused, sexual, and sometimes people can refer to it as stressed behaviour. But he seems pretty cool, he seems pretty relaxed. This is a nice time just to be with him and give him some space. He's just walking through. How's that, mate? Hello, buddy. He's got one tusk that's broken off, and that happens quite often with elephant. They use that tusk. It could be a situation that it was in an altercation with another bull, or it could have been when he was using it as a tool, but the one on the right-hand side is perfect size and shape as a tool for him to use. And he's completely relaxed. We can just tell from his... So I'm just going to sit with him, just let him get used to us a little bit more. Scotty's got something very, very cool. What the bushwalk's all about, the small stuff matter just as much. So we'll be right back with you. We're going to stick with this guy.
Now this is an awesome animal we don't get to see very often, the triagama, or blue-headed lizard. This is a male. He does have a blue head, and it appears that there are possibly two males on this tree, and they could be doing some kind of a territorial dispute or show here. And it'll be wonderful to see. Their camouflage is incredible other than that blue head, and they really blend in well to their surroundings. This one's living on a massive leadwood tree. And they'll often shake their heads up and down as part of their courting displays. Oh, there it goes, disappearing around the bush. They are masters of disappearing and will often disappear around one side of the tree. Then as you walk around that side of the tree, it comes back to the initial spot, wherever it was. And this one seems to have disappeared, so we're going to continue on. Oh, and you'll be glad to know this is the area where we were spending time with Mvula. Between drives the other day, he ate some monitor lizard just behind us and continued to walk through here and through this riverbed. James and I spent, and the trackers, Jeffrey and Bright, spent about 7 hours with him that day. And sadly, just before Peter went live, the leopard disappeared. I know you've been viewing some elephants, and what we can see here, the damage to this acacia tree would have been caused by elephants. And what they'll do is they'll come in with their tusks and pry off a piece of bark and then chew on it. The bark of the knobthorn acacia, which you can see here, peels off really easily, and that's why you'll see how it peels up to a long thin strip right at the top there. And that's, I guess, combined with the taste is what makes the knobthorn tree high up on the elephant's menu when it comes to eating bark. And thankfully this tree didn't get the circumference of its bark cut off. If this bark layer gets cut off around the whole circumference of the tree, it will die. It's ring barking, But this one does have enough bark to continue transporting the leaves with nutrition and water. And we're going to send you back to HD, who has still got some elephants for you to view.
So we're still with this beautiful big bull. He is probably in his prime, coming up towards in his probably 30s or 40s maybe. You can just tell by the shape of the head structure there, and I'm just going to try and move up a little bit for Andrew to get a better shot. He's really relaxed, and we're just talking, Andrew and I, before, how relaxed he is for a bull in must, and that sort of sexually active period. Hello, my boy. You're very, very nice, my friend. He's just having a lovely, lovely feed on this. That's a boy. Immense power. Absolutely immense power. He's beautiful. We're probably about 15, 20 feet away from this boy. And he's really keen to get the tender young shoots of this. Hello, my boy. Such a special animal. Allowing us to be in his presence. The largest land mammal on the planet. Over 13,000 pounds, a big bull. And it weighs about 10, maybe, or up to about 10, 11 feet at the shoulder, which is pretty extraordinary. There's all different shapes and sizes of elephants. Lots of different areas of Africa have, a genetic line that's a bit bigger than others, and some have bigger tusks, and so on and so on. But overall, we have one of the, and I love how James Hendry refers to them, if lions are the king of the beasts, these animals have to definitely be the emperors. And I so love it when he says that, because it's true. They just have this immense sort of power and calmness, but also authority when you're with them. Definitely an animal that we share on Safari Live with the most incredible sort of love and passion towards. They are just amazing to be around. So we're talking about that tusk, and that tusk has been broken off, but he still uses the other one, and he'll probably use that tusk as well without an issue. He'll use that for other things, and they use them like tools. They are upper incisors and on the top jaw, and they're growing constantly throughout their life, but used for fighting, used for all different types of things, and absolutely spectacular. The best place for those is on an elephant. Got a question from Alyssa. Great to have you, Alyssa. And your question about whether males are more likely to charge than females. It really does depend, Alyssa, on many, many different things. Elephants have got great, as much as the old saying goes, an elephant never forgets. But an elephant that has been exposed to human beings that have maybe gotten too close, or they've been in a human-animal conflict situation on the borders of a national park or whatever it may be, they'll have a definite preconception, I suppose is a word for it, of humans and what they will tolerate. And then we're always told that elephants in this highly sexually aroused state that they're in, or stressed state that they're in, and normally a lot more intolerant. But I mean, we're right next to this boy here, and he hasn't even shown us any signs of aggression whatsoever. So there's so many contributing factors. Females, particularly females, breeding herds, that when they have youngsters with them, if the youngster at any point is felt feels threatened, the mothers and all the related females in that herd will band together and definitely let you know that they're not impressed. So what we do is we learn constantly when we're in the bush about that invisible zone between us and the elephant, that we don't encroach upon. We let them dictate the moves, and once they've dictated the moves, then we can fall in line to their way of thinking. So he's just moving off down now, and I'm going to let him just walk, but I'm going to follow him and just stay the correct distance, and hopefully he'll let us be with him a little bit more. Going to drive down a little bit further on this road here and sit with him. He'll probably browse again in a very, very nice area. I don't want him to think that I'm following him or harassing him, but we'll see what he does here. Hello, my boy. He's just keeping an eye on me now, so I just back off a little bit. It's really interesting. He just slowed his pace down, and he gave me a little look around there, and that was an indicator for me just to say, HT, slow down a little bit. Lovely little dust bath on the way. And he's probably going to start browsing or feeding again. So I'm just going to try and go up a little bit in front of him. So, hello, my boy. I don't know, I talk to animals a lot, folks, and you probably hear me saying, hello, my boy, little mongoose ran across the road there, dwarf mongoose. And I say hello, my boy, a lot. And it's just a lovely sort of way. It's an old thing that I used to have an old zookeeper mate that I worked with. And he always used to talk to animals before we'd go into an enclosure or whatever, and it just was a nice way for them to know you're around and just be a little bit more respectful rather than startling them. It's all right, my boy. I'm just going to move around in front of you, my boy, so we can get a nice shot here. Just went off. But it won't grow to a point like that again. It will, hey buddy, it's okay, my boy. It won't grow to a point again. It'll keep growing from the roots down, but it won't have that point again on it like it has now. So the answer to that is, Mandy, it constantly grows throughout the elephant's life, but it doesn't grow back in the same shape or point. All right, precious boy. I'm just going to just move up in front of him here because he wants to cross the road, and that was where I'm making Andrew really swing around here. I do apologise, but it's important that we don't get in his way and we let him go where he pleases. So I knew he wanted to cross the road, and I think he's going to move off here, and he's just going to have one last feed here, which is lovely, and we might let him be then. He's been fantastic for us. And I think I've got a question from Country Girl and Country Girl Ash, I think it is. Country Girl Ash, great to have you with us. And you're asking whether elephants, you can tell how old elephants are by their wrinkles. Well, you could definitely tell an animal's age by, watch this, folks. I think he's going to push this tree right over. Oh, my goodness. That is fantastic. Look at that. Oh, my word. Incredible stuff. Sheer strength of these creatures is absolutely astonishing. 13,000 pounds of muscle and tusk and skin and strength just push that tree over like a as like a matchstick, and he just wants to get to the tender young shoots on the end. Country Girl Ash, I just wanted to go back to your question. Can you tell from the wrinkles? Look, they definitely do have saggier, baggier skin, excuse the terminology there on the old storybook, saggy, baggy elephant type of thing, but they do have saggier skin as they do get older. You can't necessarily tell it from the wrinkles, but you can normally tell it from the body shape and the prominence of the spine that you can see on the back of the elephant there. As Andrew goes down the spine, the older the elephant, you start to get more prominence or more visual of the hip bones and the spine. So there's loads of different ways we can tell. I'm going to just reverse up a little bit to get Andrew a better shot. But Country Girl Ash, thank you very much for your question, and it's a great one. There's lots of different ways we tell the age of an elephant, but yes, you can tell by the skin. I'm just going to reverse back. Let's see if we can... We're going to cross over to Brent so he can just say farewell. We're going to stay with his Ellie, and I'll come back to you before we go off air, guys. So thanks so much, and we'll see you just now.
So, nearly the end of the show, I decided we'd come have a quick look at Pete, the pond hippo. He's not looking too well. He's carrying quite a few wounds. Those aren't the bad wounds we can see there. But he is snoozing at the moment. Have a look. You can see around his eyes and ears, he's trying to put some mud, some sunscreen on him. That's a shame. Old bull, probably been pushed out by the younger guys. And his oxpeck is keeping those wounds open, drinking the fresh blood. So from myself and Tebs here on the Wendy, it's been great having you on the Sunset Safari with us. Unfortunately, hasn't been the most productive in terms of big cats, but I'm sure Jamie out there with the trackers will hopefully find something. They're still out there on foot. But for the last few minutes of the show, let's go to HT, and we'll see you on the Sunset Safari.
Well, we're still with our boy. We've got about 4 minutes to go, and he's just been absolutely superb. What a sensational creature. Allowing us to be this close to him, and particularly being a bull in must, in that M-U-S-T-H as it's spelt, and it's pronounced with the T-H, must. And he's just allowed us to be here with him, and has been so tolerant. I'm going to just try and peek up around the corner for us to get one last shot of him, or maybe he's going to come back around this way, who knows. It's all right, buddy. And it's been fantastic to have you guys with us today. Absolutely superb, as always, to have everyone on board. And if it's your first time on Safari Live, hopefully you're going to become addicted after today. And we've got a great program again tonight, or this afternoon for us. Just check the website on WildSafariLive.com. It's one of our second last TV show on Nat Geo Wild, but we're always continuing the drives online throughout the year, 2 drives a day, and all the times are always on the website as well. And to interact with us, it's #@Safari Live, or email us at questions@wildearth.tv. They're the great ways to get in contact with us, and today has just been so brilliant to have so many young people watching. I think you pretty much get the idea of how passionate I am about inspiring young people to get outside and connect with nature. There's nothing better. There's science has shown it, research has shown it. It's a benefit to all of us, adults and kids, that nature is in our blood. We do get so much from it that we don't even realise. Hello, Mike. We've only got a little bit of time left, but I'm going to get one more wild child in. Nikki, fantastic to have you on board with us. I'm going to trust Andrew to keep an eye on that elephant because I got my back to him. But you know what, Nikki, you want to be a biologist, and yes, you can get to have contact with animals because you'll be doing research on them. Obviously, we don't reach out and touch animals. That's not what we're about. But if you're doing research on them, sometimes you have to capture small mammals and maybe put a little collar on them, or take some samples from them and then release them safely. You will have interaction. So, Nicky, you go for it, buddy. You become a biologist, and I tell you what, the world's going to be a better place if you do that, because we need loads of you. Thanks so much, buddy. We've only got about 20 seconds left. Beautiful elephant. I'll see you again tomorrow morning. Take care, guys. Thanks so much.